So a couple of things. When I addressed what Carolyn had said with the night that the Monica girl came into her chat, they only sent me a timestamp. So yesterday I revisited that live and I have a lot to say about it. Okay? So this is going to be a long video. I'm doing my best to try to edit it down, but it's not going well. Okay? So just bear with me.
Let's talk about some things. What I was saying before, the big news for the channel is, well, I'll let you know some things right now, okay? So Jimmy taught at a school called the Family Foundation School. It's in Hancock, New York. Then the Family Foundation School was started, and I'm going to go into all of the history of this, and I'm working with former students, friends that, one in particular tonight, it was very, very emotional because when you listen to people that tried to insinuate things maybe months ago that I just totally ignored because we knew the truth of that nothing like that ever happened with Jimmy, but people would come in and they would talk about somebody doing music in a barn and insinuating that was Jimmy, or that Jimmy was a music teacher. Jimmy wasn't a music teacher. And
things. Number one, most importantly, I haven't been able to find a student that you met up with and talk to about this in any way. I also haven't seen anybody say that Jimmy himself essayed anyone. So I'm having trouble nailing that down, right? Where I'm sitting, it kind of looks like you were just trying to get away from it, whatever. But I have not seen anybody say that Jimmy himself essayed anyone. Jimmy was not a music teacher, but there was a man sexually assaulting female and male students in the barn that was a music teacher. That's factual. So just gonna throw this out there. This is not big news for your channel, okay? That's not what this is. That is not what this is.
What happened, what's come out, there's been indictments and there's been depositions, and we're going to go over them because they are shocking. They are shocking to the staff that was there tonight. They are shocking to students that we're working with, okay? Students that have known my kids since they've been born, students that play sports with my kids. One of them, and who's the head of this, know him very well, and he was a very nice guy, and just hugging me like crazy and saying, thanking me to get the platform to do this with. So we are going to do this together, and
it's shocking to. Who is it shocking? Who is it shocking news to? That's what I want to know. Also, I really want to know who the head of this is that is so thankful that you're going to cover this on your channel, because everyone that I've spoken to does not want you covering this on your channel. So if you're planning on bringing staff onto your channel, it's going to be a hard no for me. A hard no. Okay? See, you're failing to see the point that I'm making here. Y'all already profited off of our abuse and trauma. It's not going to happen again. So I have not found a single student that says you are involved in this investigation, right? So it wasn't shocking. They all knew.
Sports with my kids. One of them, and who's the head of this, know him very well, and he was a very nice guy, and just hugging me like crazy and saying, thanking me to get the platform to do this with. So we are going to do this together, and it's going to be a lot of work because we're going to do interviews with like the staff members that were there tonight, And I'll explain it all to you because like the former student that was there the other night, she came in and she said something like they started to get people out of the school system that they knew were questioning.
Nope. What you might as well just say what we're planning on doing is telling a whitewashed version of what actually went on at that school on my platform. That's what I hear. It ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. Okay? There are too many students that are very public about their stories at this point. There have been too many depositions given where the state is connecting the dots. Your best bet would be to shut your mouth.
And I'll explain it all to you because like the former student that was there the other night, she came in and she said something like they started to get people out of the school system that they knew were questioning things, and they weren't even the things that they didn't know, like what they found out a couple weeks ago, was it? I have to look at his indictment.
Things. That was me in your chat, and I was unaware that your husband worked there for 10 years, right? That is a big bit of information and makes a very big statement to me, right? I didn't know that he was there for 10 years when I said that. I'm more referring to the woman on TikTok that worked there for 2 years and then went to report it. 2 weeks, I'm sorry. That's the people I'm talking about, not your husband.
Oh. But the real thing that is making people's heads roll is the depositions from other people that knew of this.
Nothing in the Jan deposition was new information. I just want to make that clear. Also, you do know that the Jan deposition is a different case. That's a civil case. It has nothing to do with the charges that Paul Gear is facing.
And he did the most outrageous things. I can read you his indictment. And there were many students that showed up for him in court, I believe it was last week.
I want to make this clear because your wording sounds like we showed up for Paul. We did not show up for Paul. We showed up to see him where he belongs.
Worst abuse. Jimmy left the school in December of 2010. And we can look at the depositions. It was like the 2013 through to the closing. There were certain counselors that were having relations, allegedly, with kids there. But Paul Gear, who was indicted, actually took kids on music trips to like Montreal and stuff and AR'd them.
This is why you are not the one, on top of the fact that you live with an abuser, right? You are not the one to do this because you're all over the place and you're fucking wrong, right? You're wrong, all right? You're talking about a deposition, which is a civil case involving a different situation. That deposition is only evidence for the criminal complaints. It's a different case, right? And you're saying that the worst abuse was after he left. That is not factual. That is not factual, okay? The case that you're referring to, the civil case, the student was a student from 2012, right? The other cases were before, okay? You are not the one to do this. Not only do you not do it any justice, you're fucking wrong.
We're going to be covering just this egregious, horrendous abuse that went on there. Now, what the staff was talking about tonight was that they all see now why they were pushed out. You see, because people can talk about this, but they don't know the inner workings of it because they weren't there. They weren't one of the students. And I'm talking about people on YouTube that tried to do things too, and they weren't a staff member, and they don't even know what they're talking about because people were pushed out of that school. They started doing it with pay cuts. They started doing it with hourly cuts. They started doing it with taking away bonuses. And they started doing it with reassignment of duties and things. So they eased all of these people, including Jimmy, out. And then the most horrendous abuse went on in the years after that with counselors.
Incorrect. Okay. So this is what you're not doing is giving full context, right? The staff was getting pay cuts and the hours were getting cuts because of the rise of the internet and students telling their stories. Okay. So they had to cut their costs because they weren't making enough money because we were saying they were abusive. You follow me? Right? So this is why you should not, you don't have an unbiased view here. You just don't. And I am a student, right? And from what I've seen, those people that were talking about the school on YouTube were accurate. They were accurate. And you can't say that the worst abuse happened after he left. That is incorrect. It was less abuse then, because they had to conform, right? The investigations were starting because we were loud, right? Again, wrong.
What I had to go away and meet tonight, and it was very nice to see the old staff that I know and just see how everybody was engaged for the kids. And you can't. They're just, a lot of them. Some of them knew this guy was like a quirky-ish guy and just weird. It didn't, what, the person I was speaking to, he would say this, so-and-so was a polarizing, person there. You didn't want to be like, he said, this music director would say, you should really go for the chorus. He said, I would go for basketball, just as far away from him because there was just a vibe.
Sounds to me like you went to a staff meeting where everybody was trying to get their story straight because they feel the walls closing in. That's what it sounds like to me. Also, there was a vibe with Paul, but why did nobody report it then? Why did nobody report it then? See, you're asking all the wrong questions. Why is that? I think it's because you know all the answers, right?
Now, you're going to not believe that a conversation tonight, and I was speaking a lot tonight with especially this one student, okay? Because his job is analyzing behavior and all of that. So we talked a lot. And I told him about Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand. And the reason I told him about Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand, we're going to study cults because there is a cult aspect that happens, and we're going to talk about Eastridge. And I know this is all like foreign to you guys, but I promise you're going to be very familiar with it. And it is not just this school or whatever. This is something that is used because you can see where Jody Hildebrand, and I told him, Jody Hildebrand would tell people they were addicted to pee, right? And then make the husband move out of the house or all this stuff. And then she would get in these groups with these guys and talk about their addiction. Well, guess what? This guy told the kids at school he was addicted to sex. He was a sex addict.
The fact that you want to cover cults, but you can't see the correlation between Jody Hildebrand, Ruby Frankie, and the family school says it all, right? And you're just finding out that he had really sexual, highly inappropriate conversations with a room full of minors. You're just finding that out when your husband worked there over 10 years.
Family was very dysfunctional. They were talking about that tonight, that the daughter couldn't stand her father, and she's the one that died, but someone said like she wanted to run the school into the ground. I mean, there's so much here to unpack. And just like this student said, he said, Carolyn, I want you with me when we unpack this, because I'm going to need you. I'm going to need someone like you to help me unpack this. And help us get this story out there the way we want. And I need someone to help me with the interviews and all of that. So it is quite an undertaking.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that no student said that, because you are not telling our stories the right way at all. At all, right? So nobody is begging you to unpack anything. There are plenty of students with platforms that will tell the story correctly. You got shit all fucked up.
Now, Jimmy was called by the FBI about Paul Gear. So were other people. Because Jimmy was no fan of Paul Gear. He didn't like him, rubbed him the wrong way, and seemed to just want to, like one time they were going to an amusement park, and they all had, a number of kids that they were with, and he wanted to like redirect Jimmy and the kids he was with somewhere else, like to watch the steers rather than go into the amusement park and go and have fun. And now I think, and Jimmy thinks too, that he was probably keeping them from, hiding out on certain things, the farm that was. And then it became bigger and bigger. And there's all kinds of stuff here that now is coming to light.
Give them an official statement, because I'm sure all staff were called because they were looking for people to corroborate the stories that were being while they were investigating, right? So did he give a recorded statement to the FBI about anything that he saw? And it's not just coming to light, okay? We've known for decades. We've spoken about this publicly for decades, right? So why do you want to talk about it now? Why do you want to talk about it now? You think that people can't see that? Do you think that people can't see why you want to talk about it now? Because it's blaringly obvious.
2 weeks ago. His criminal indictment portrayed him as a domineering, abusive tyrant who, during one-on-one trips away from the school, and outside the state of New York, he AR'd teenage students or forced them into sexual activity. The indictment follows years of lawsuits that have portrayed this abuse. Paul Gear, 56 years old, was arrested in Hancock, New York, where he lives, which was a short distance from where the school was. The school is no longer, okay? He was charged with 6 counts related to bringing 3 different children across state lines to engage in unlawful sexual activity. He pled not guilty at an arraignment before a federal magistrate in Syracuse, New York. And he was denied.
Again, invalidating victims, right? He was charged. He was able to be charged with the trafficking, okay? There were other students assaulted on campus for decades.
Former students say his arrest vindicated many years of online campaigns and legal battles that they had around specifically that man, Paul Gear.
out the dozens of other staff that were named in the other civil suits? Why are you doing that? Yes, Paul may be the only one indicted at this point, right? But dozens of other staff are named in civil litigations. Why are you leaving that out?
So yeah, that is what we will be doing. That's going to be a long process, but I told him tonight, and we hugged and cried, and I told him I will help him with this, and I will do it. So,
But that's factual. Do you know that 99.9% of the students that went to that school feel that way? Do you know that we all feel like they knew about the abuse and they did nothing, that they're complicit? Did you know that? So this is the problem, right? For 2 years, you've been questioned about the school, and for 2 years, you have said the opposite of what happened there, right? And now you think that this is going to be your chance to whitewash it with the staff and revitalize your channel? I do want to talk to the student that hugged you and cried and begged you to talk about this on your platform, because anybody I've spoken to, they're not with it.
oh, wait a minute, Monica T. Okay, don't, Scooter. Monica T, if you'd like to come up, and speak. This is not making my husband look any better, just in case you think this is helping. You know what? Monica, don't be concerned about my husband. He doesn't have to look any better. He didn't do anything. Okay? Did you go to school there, Monica? Did you go to school there? How come my husband has so many people that he still works with, that we're still friends with, that he's taught? You don't know anything about my husband. You don't know anything about other staff there, okay? There was a lot of good staff that was there that you have no idea about. But if you'd like to take a link and come up, I'm not accusing her husband, but he was complicit. No, he wasn't complicit, Monica. He didn't know about any abuse going on there like this. Are you kidding me? He would never be complicit to that. And he had to be, just by virtue of working there, he's just as guilty. Monica, do you know how stupid you sound? Oh my gosh, Monica.
I'm going to say it right now. I know that you said that was a troll, but you don't know that for sure. And you attacked that person not knowing if they were a student while you were invalidating the student's trauma. What a clusterfuck. That's why you shouldn't be the one to talk about it. Clearly, you are incapable of doing it the right way. Tell the student that is crying and hugging you to send me a DM on Facebook, please, and thank you.